There's something quite grounding about being in such a vast open space. The starry nights, the vast expanse of sand. And in the empty quarter in Saudi, we have the world's biggest sand desert, and it is surrounded by that kind of mystique. So, the objective of crossing the empty quarter, it is a huge objective. And then to take it one stage further and go from coast to coast in Saudi Arabia is something that is unprecedented. Did a pre-recce of the route 2 years ago. We learned a lot on that trip about the desert, but we don't know everything. We recce'd about 80% of the route that we're now going to go and ride, but the rest is unknown. And that is, to a great degree, that's test pilot. It's a journey into the unknown. And let's see if we can do this thing.
Test pilots have never been done before. We don't know if they're going to work or succeed, or that objective is going to be reached, especially with something like Saudi.
I like test pilots. You tend to get a smaller group of people, and therefore you can get to know people a lot better. You can really form a team by the end of the test pilot.
Throughout my whole life, I've felt the draw of spending time in the desert. I see it sort of like a character that I wanted to get to know.
I've had quite a difficult time over the last few years. I wanted something that would push me out of my comfort zone.
Well, I watched Indiana Jones when I was young, right? And it was just like, wow, like, is there that adventure out there in the world still, So then, discovering things like this, for me, was like, yes, there are,
To be honest, I'm nervous. It is a huge event, 18 days consecutively of long-distance cycling on fat bikes. So it is going to be a huge challenge.
To get out into the middle of the empty quarter, where more people have walked on the moon, that would be a really good point to look back to and say that I've been there, I've done that.
We're here at the beginning of a life-defining journey, I think, for all of us. This is a journey across the entirety of Saudi Arabia. We find ourselves here on the Red Sea coast, ready to face down 1,800-ish kilometres of desert, of mountains. We're going to Saudi Arabia's highest point. We're going across the entire empty quarter. That's a lot of sand. And hopefully, in just under 3 weeks' time, we'll reach the Persian Gulf.
This bike is heavy, 20 odd kilo. Do you like that fat bike more now?
I hate it. So if you look behind me, our friend Kirsten is cracking open a Capri orange juice, gifted to us just out of the last car that went past. They gave us water, juices, and a big smile and a big welcome to Saudi Arabia. So the highlight of today has to be the amazing friendliness of everybody who's passed us.
It was an amazing start and great to be by the sea. Everyone's done amazingly. Today has been much longer in time than we expected. Everybody getting into camp in the dark.
And today is to do about 25-ish K on the bike, which doesn't sound a lot, but we're going up this wadi. Should be quite nice, gradual ascent. Then it's going to get a lot steeper, and we're going to go up about 1,000 metres, and then we're going to ditch the bikes and we're going to hike to the high point of Saudi Arabia.
So ditching the bikes now, so essentially climbing Snowdon for the second half of the day. Every kind of time you're lowering yourself or pushing yourself, it's like we're in the lower reserves of energy now.
Let's get the calories in.
Yeah. This is half an hour's climb again. Minimum.
With the bikes, it's 20 minutes to half an hour, 8 games to. Yeah.
Alright, let's just have a think about this, alright? Let's just have a think.
Look, you're not taking 3 at the moment.
Okay,
Have some sugar.
Yeah, just.
Just incredible. I mean, I'm so close to tears. Yeah, it's just amazing, an amazing experience, an amazing team. I've never gone that deep. I'm so rock bottom.
We had a good few days on the road, and I think at the end of that section, we were pretty much where we thought we'd be, distance and time-wise.
The team have done phenomenally well to get to where they have now. We're starting to get a few little things, saddle sores, aching backs. But in general, everyone's holding up really, really well.
Abby's gear shifter exploded and spewed all the parts on the road in a small town. We managed to find most of them, but unfortunately not all of them. So we've just tried to stick it together here, but it's just not playing the game. So we're now on the hunt for Plan B, trying to find the only fat bike in Saudi Arabia.
Danny in the office sourced me a bike in Riyadh from a trek shop, and we purchased the bike just to get one part that I needed for my broken bike, and it got delivered last night in the middle of the night, and I'm very excited. This morning Jim and I got up early, fixed it. Within about 30 minutes it was all kind of ready, and I am very grateful to have gears and to know that I can continue, and I'm very excited to be riding.
Well, we're here now at the empty quarter. We've had 6 long days to get here, but we're here now, and this is where the business end of this challenge really starts. We've got hundreds and hundreds of miles of sand to cover. Of course, we're equipped with our trusty fat bikes. We've had a few mechanicals along the way, but they're holding up well. They're treating as well, and we're going to need them now because that's the machine we're going to use to traverse the empty quarter.
Unfortunately, we had very strong headwinds, we had a couple of falls, injuries cropping up, and we ended up 17 kilometres short of our target for today.
clear cycling is just so attritional, so draining. I was utterly spent, and I wasn't really quite sure whether I could go on.
Every day it's wake up at around 5:30, get on the bikes and ride until 5:30.
We were doing all right until lunchtime, and then the wind started to pick up. We had buffs covering our face, but the sand and the dust was still getting through the buffs into our mouths at the same time.
You know, some of the sand is very, very soft. Some of the sand is really rideable, and you don't quite know what you're going to get and where. We put some estimations on what we thought we might be able to do distance-wise, but it was always going to be an unknown until we got into the real meat and potatoes of this part of the route. As we progressed through those sections, it was clear that we weren't really doing the distance that we needed to do to be kind of on track with our Plan A schedule. So there's a decision coming up for folk as to whether they want to go for glory and head for the coast. Our original Plan A objective, you know, was to get from the Red Sea to the Persian Gulf via the Empty Quarter, or maybe take a shortened route and complete the Empty Quarter, which in itself is a huge achievement, huge undertaking. So that decision is kind of upon us now that we've seen a couple of days of travel through these sands and what it means for the bikes, what it means for the people on the bikes.
I personally love being in the desert. It's meditative, it's very quiet and peaceful. You get a lot of time with your own thoughts. It gives me time to reflect on everything that's happening in my life and happening with work. I love the feeling of feeling like a very small cog in this massive universe, really. It's a beautiful thing to feel.
There's no hustle and bustle, there's no streets. You know, you can point your bike in one direction and just go in that direction. And that's very liberating, cruising over dunes, you know, cruising over the sand, and you just get this sense of elation almost, that you have just the horizon in front of you, the shimmering sands of the desert, the blue sky above. That night you can camp wherever. You know, home is where you hang your hat.
It was enchanting, but it's the silence. I'd had a very difficult few years, and I left a lot of clutter in the desert.
The team found their feet, the daily mileage was incrementally getting better. Our horizons were set and everybody's objectives started to solidify a bit. You know, some people had their sights set on getting to the edge of the Empty Quarter itself. Other people still wanted to shoot for the coast, and it all kind of felt doable.
We were able to get a bit of a shifty along today. I think we did 57 kilometres today.
This is a really, really tough outing. Your face doesn't even look like yours anymore. Eyes are puffy, lips are sore.
I'm constantly impressed and amazed by the resilience of my other colleagues.
And then I was told that we were basically out of water, which is not necessarily the news you want to hear when you're in the middle of the biggest sand desert on Earth. The water situation was far more dire than we thought it was, and it meant that we had to down tools there and then. We had to stop riding, and we were waiting for a resupply, and it just wasn't going to get to us in the timeline that we thought it was. And I think at that point, certainly for me, and I think for the rest of the team, I realised the game was up. We were out of time.
How does it feel to have packed your bag for the last time?
I'm happy to be going back and getting back to warm showers and that kind of thing, but I'll miss this place. It's been a nice experience.
One of the best things I'm taking from it is just like the vibe we've got from the Saudis, getting to know these guys. Been thinking a lot about kind of their sense of community and things like that, which is really special.
Yeah, I had a few favourite moments, but being deep in the empty quarter, looking on the mapping where you were, and actually really enjoying the scenery, looking around and really marvelling at where you are, that was probably my favourite moment. And then coming across a few Bedouin farms with the camels, and just knowing that they're also out there in the middle of nowhere. I kind of loved that, and I loved that interaction, and that was probably one of my favourite moments.
I'm incredibly proud, of what we achieved. It was so tough, and unless you were there, you wouldn't know how hard the riding is. You can look at all the Strava stats and all the things that the computers will tell you. None of them can convey what it was like to hit that soft stand and just put out power and not move. What we did was incredible.
Life is so short and so precious, and none of us know what's coming at us around the corner. I do feel that we have unfinished business in Saudi.
Will we go back and have another go? Well, we could, and I think there's a high level of confidence that if we went back, we'd achieve, the objective that we set out to do initially. But equally, sometimes there's a case in point in saying, well, the experience we had was good on its own merit. Do we need to go back, and do this again? We had a really good experience. We didn't achieve plan A, but we still had an incredible trip. Do we want to change that? Will we go back? Time will tell.